Hey guys, I hope your weekend was wonderful. Welcome back to This Week in English and Literature. Today we went over some review from your previous years. So we went over types of conflict and then we also went over character traits. So in your downloadable attachments today, you will find types of conflict. So this is what it looks like. You will need your composition notebook, which is your notebook that without the little spiral things on the side. You'll need a glue stick and you will need a pair of scissors. All right, so make sure you get those things together. All right, so literary conflict or literacy conflict. Conflict is an issue or a problem that you have, and we break those down into internal and external. Internal means we hold them in here. External means it's things around us. All right. So we're going to go ahead and look at the 4 different types of conflict. Now, I know that you've probably done these in the past. So that's why today is just a review day. So these are the 4 that we break it down into. We've got man versus man. We have man versus nature, man versus himself, or just we say man versus self, and then man versus society. You could actually have a 5th one, man versus technology, but for this class, we're just going to include that within society. All right. So we're going to start by taking some notes. So what I need for you to do is open up your composition notebook, and I'm just going to open up a notebook. Okay. And I'm going to open it to my first page. I want you to break the page into half. So you can either draw a line horizontally or draw a line vertically. In the first section, you are going to write man versus man. So if I do that on mine, it looks like this, man versus man. Okay. And then you have these notes here, conflict between one person and another. So I want you to take notes within this notebook. I know that it's written right there for you, but our brains work better when we actually write things down so we can remember it. So I need you to write that down. So you're going to write down conflict between one person and another, and then make another bullet point or a star and say disagreement. All right. Once you get that down, then you're also going to put the example. So the one that I had here is Flynn Rider versus the 2 soldiers. I like to pull in Disney movies. So this one is from Tangled, and Flynn Rider was the guy that Rapunzel falls in love with. And he is running from 2 soldiers because he's a thief and he's stolen some things. So you're going to write that down as an example. I want you to think of another example. I was telling the kids this morning that my youngest daughter was throwing a big old fit this morning. She did not want to go to school. So we had a man versus man conflict between her and I. She didn't want to go to school. I told her she had to go to school. She was super upset. So this could be anything personal for you, or it can be from a movie or something else that you saw. Okay. Sorry about this. I'm going to shut this down real quick. All right. So make sure you write down the example. All right. So then we're going to go to the second part up here, and you're going to go ahead and write man versus nature. So this is our second type of conflict that we're dealing with. All right. Then you're going to go ahead and write those same notes down. A man versus nature is conflict dealing with something in nature. It's something outside of yourself, something that is uncontrollable by man. All right, so a lot of the times we think of weather when we think of man versus nature. It could also be an animal. So my example was Hurricane Harvey, or you could do the hurricane that just went through the southern United States. You could put that one down. Maybe it is... I think it was called Derecho, the storm that went through Iowa. My sister is from Cedar Rapids, and they had several things destroyed there. 112 mile per hour straight winds. It was crazy. But that's man versus nature. So one thing I want you to think about is a paper boy or a paper person that's dropping off the newspaper at your house. How is nature, or how could nature be a conflict for them? What do you think? I'm thinking of the paper boy getting rained on, so then the paper gets rained on, or the wind blowing it off of the front porch. Or maybe there's a mean dog and he chases the paper boy. All of those would be man versus nature, right? So we're going to go ahead and move on to the third kind of conflict, and this is man versus self. So then you're going to turn your paper over in your composition notebook again because you want to keep these notes. You're going to write man versus self. All right, so then we have, this says conflict within the self. So this is that internal conflict that I mentioned earlier. And you're going to have decision making or a moral dilemma is here. These are the ones that make you think. Every time that you make a decision and you weigh maybe pros and cons, those are going to be man versus self decisions. So I pulled in Tangled here again, Rapunzel, deciding on leaving the tower or not. She didn't know whether she should leave. She kept saying, well, I want to go see the lights, but I'm afraid that I'll make my mother upset if I leave her. And I don't know what I should do, and I don't want to get in trouble. All of that is a man versus self. All right, so I want you to try to think of another example here to go in this one. This would be like a conflict that you have. And it's not a fight between you and someone else, but maybe it's you're not sure if you should try out for baseball or football this year because they both run at the same time. Well, they don't really this year, but any other year in junior high. So you have to make that decision. And maybe it weighs a lot on your mind. Or maybe dad wants you to try wrestling, but that's not something that you want to do. And so you've got this conflict, like, do I let my dad down or am I unhappy and just play the sport? All right, so go ahead and write an example down for that one. Now, when you get done with that one, then you've got your line and you're going to go ahead and put man versus society. All right. And then the definition for that one is a conflict with an issue that is happening in the world. If you have watched the news at all, or you've heard your parents or grandparents talk, you know that we have a lot of issues going on here in the United States right now. And we're not going to talk about sides on that, but the things that fall under that I want you to put bullet points or stars for in your notes are laws, politics, religion, groups of people, and technology. All right, so sometimes there is a law that maybe someone has broken, and so you have to go to court. This would be man versus society. Politics, we have an important election coming up, and we have two very controversial candidates on both sides. This is politics. All right, so who should be the president? Who shouldn't be the president? Why shouldn't they be president? Why is one candidate better than the other? All of that is man versus society. We also have religion. So each one of us has something that we believe in, whether it is one type of religion or one person or not. This can be a conflict that happens. We also have groups of people. So this could be one person against a whole group of people. Now, what I mean is it's not like a group of friends gangs up on you. So that's not man versus society. That's still considered man versus man. But instead, it's like one maybe group of people against another group of people in their beliefs. So you've probably seen some of the news on protest and rioting and that kind of thing. That would fall under man versus society. It also has to deal with some of our laws and politics. And then we have technology, and this is the one that most of us have a man versus society conflict with. So my example is your paper doesn't save. So you've typed up an essay, and then all of a sudden it doesn't save, and you've done all of that work. This was like 2 weeks ago when I was trying to make the first YouTube video to put on here. I spent 2 hours trying to make the video. It was 37 minutes long, and guess what? It didn't save. So I had to do it all again. I may have been a little mad. I may have wanted to throw something. I may have cried a little bit, but I got past it, and we're all better for it now. So those are some examples of man versus society. So now I want you to write another example. You find one that is important to you or one that you see often, or maybe you've watched the news and you know one from there. And I want you to go ahead and write it down in your notebook also. All right. The next one we did was small group work. Now, you obviously are not working in a group, but you still need to do this part. So we're going to the next page in our notebook then, and this is going to be All Summer in a Day conflict. So All Summer in a Day was the story that you read for your pretest. So this was the one about Margot being trapped in the closet on Venus, and she wasn't able to see the sun. What I want for you to do is choose one type of conflict from the story. So it's either man versus man, man versus nature, man versus self, or man versus society. And actually, there are all of those within that story. So you're going to choose one. You're going to write that down on that sheet of paper. So maybe you label that one. I'm going to go ahead and write it on this side. All summer. I don't know if you can see this or not. In a day. Okay. All summer in a day. And then you're going to tell me what kind of conflict. So maybe I want to do man versus man. So I'm going to go ahead and write that there, man versus man. And then you are going to write down three pieces of text evidence to support that type of conflict. So you're going to go back into the story, and that will be in your attachments also. Go back into the story and find 3 exact pieces of evidence that support that type of conflict. So where, like, you're looking into the story and saying, all right, where exactly was a man versus man conflict where one person was dealing directly with a problem with someone else? You're going to go find those. 3 pieces is what I want. Now, when you're doing evidence, you need to make sure that you're putting quotes around it if you stole it from some piece of work, so it's not your own words. And then you also need to write a page number, okay, for that. And there were four pages on there, so you can either say page 1, 2, 3, or 4. All right. Then after that, the next part of this assignment would be for you to pick out a movie. Maybe your favorite movie, one that you just know very well. Some people used Home Alone today. Others use some kind of Disney movie. And I want you to tell me another type of conflict from that movie, and then give me 2 pieces of evidence to support that. Now, those pieces of evidence don't have to be exact because you don't have the script from the movie or the show, but I want you to use 2 pieces of evidence, 2 things that happened that proved that type of conflict. Okay? All right. Then we moved on today to character traits. So I went ahead and I downloaded the character traits file. And it looked like this or something like this. All right. And this has a whole bunch of words on here. Now, character traits are different than our feelings. So a feeling is how you feel like right then and there. A trait, however, describes our personality. So who we are most of the time. So I went through here and I was looking at some and I said, I'm pretty cheerful most of the time. Of course, I will have my bad days, but I'm cheerful most of the time. If someone were to ask, or if I were to ask someone to describe me, they may say independent because I want to do things on my own and I don't usually wait for someone else to do it. I just think if it needs to get done, then I need to do it. I can do it on my own. So independent would be a word that would describe me. All right. So what you're going to do now is take that piece of paper. If you can print it, that would be wonderful. So I've got one that looks similar to that. All right. Character traits. And what I did is I cut it out. I cut all the edges out. So it looks like this. And then I'm going to turn the page in my composition notebook to a new page. And then I'm just going to glue that in. Okay. So that I have that. So I have that in my notebook to keep. Okay. Then after you get done doing that, you're going to turn the page to the back side of it. And you are picking out 5 traits. 5 traits that describe you. Again, this is not like today I'm sad or today I'm happy, but most of the time, which traits define me? You're going to write down 5 traits, and then you're drawing a picture next to each one of them to represent that trait in you. Now, if you don't want to draw, then you could go into PowerPoint or you could go into Microsoft Word. You would put that word down and then find a picture online, like just a clip art picture or something, and put that down next to it to show you. So you can get as fancy as you want with it. Now, when you're all done with this, then what I need for you to do is take a picture just showing me that you completed your notes. And then you're also going to, okay, I'm going to answer the phone real quick. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm back. Sorry. So you're going to take a picture of those notes. You're going to take a picture of the all summer in a day one. That's the one I'm really concerned about. And the type of conflict, along with 3 examples. You're going to take a picture of that page. And then I want a picture of your character traits page, showing me 5 different traits that describe you and your personality, not your feelings, but your personality, with a picture next to each one of those. Once you get those, I don't have an assignment in Teams for that. I just want you to email me the pictures of your notebook. Okay. My email address is ashoopman, SHOOPMAN @CUSD3.com. And you can always find that also on the plan book page. All right. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.